ここからはセッション2 NTA、NTTA 研究の最新動向と題して3名の先生方に発表をしていただきます。でははじめに報告4 NTA のネットワーク研究応用その達成挑戦そして可能性と題しましてハワイ大学マノア校経済学部教授サン・ヒョップリー先生より発表していただきます。I'd like to invite Professor Lee to the stage.
Thank you for inviting me. So this is the title, and this is me. So over the last 20 years, the NTA network has grown so rapidly from 7 countries in 2003 to 100 countries now. So I still remember the January 2004, we had the first meeting in Berkeley, and Naoiroga sensei and Andy and Nicole, everybody was there. And at that time, we didn't believe, that it will grow to 100 countries 20 years later. No one. I asked Andy, no one. Ron, no one, actually. So the natural question is, why the NTA network has been growing so rapidly? And some people say, population aging, population change facilitated this. Well, I think that actually partly explains it. But there are other factors such as organizational characteristics and its strengths of methodology and other factors. So in this presentation, I will briefly explain the factors, research and policy implications, and also some challenges and some issues, okay, for 20 minutes. So the two most important factors are number one, we have excellent dedicated leaders, leadership of founding members. And actually the second one, I believe, is a decentralized administration. So the leaders actually already, of course the leaders are Ron Lee and Andrew Mason. They already had established their connection with international and regional organizations, and which facilitated the function of the decentralized regional organization. Actually, it happened kind of by accident. We actually discussed how we can actually make it. Then, which in turn brought about beneficial effects such as funding, regional meetings, and also UNFPA, and all the other, some kind of regional groups utilized the NTA and joined the NTA. So it actually became a platform of a research group. And especially, regional organizations like UNFPA Asia Pacific Regional Office thought that this is a great tool, policy advocate or policy tools. So, of course, the usefulness of NTA methodology and its policy implication are very important factors, right? It produces a comprehensive output, including private sectors. It has implication on macroeconomy, comparable across countries and over time due to coherent methodology, and there is consistency with the UN system of national accounts, which provide evidences for policy questions. Everyone probably know it because you already heard about it. So indeed, the NTA has been shedding light on many other areas of social, political, and economic questions. So you can just imagine, right? So you are just adding economic. It's a flow, right? So how, each generation, each age group produce and consume. So how large are the demographic dividend? How are older people supported? Are current government programs fiscally sustainable? So you can actually add questions and questions to this. So NTA has provided and can provide the evidences for these questions. So this is just an example. I had a lot of training in each country in Asia. So when I had a minister of actually the UNFPA organized this meeting, so with multiples, right? So when I had a meeting, actually I thought the meeting lasted 30 minutes, but it lasted 2 hours. So it shows the demographic dividend, the one which is red based on just the age structure, and the other blue based on NTA methodology. So if we use red, that's just the increase in share of working population defined as 15 to 64. So the minister actually believed that their demographic dividend would last until 2047. And I said, sorry, sir, it already ended. So, I mean, that's kind of a thing. You know, I actually don't explain NTA whenever I meet people. I just bring graphs and show that, and they wonder if where you got this graph. And I explain NTA. So, and he also mentioned that, is it because of the definition of 15 to 64? Can you use 20 to 60? Yes. And I have a bunch of graphs and showing that. Well, then problem is that it's not consistent. But in NTA, there is only one demographic dividend. So, sorry about this graph because I added this graph 2 minutes ago because Reiko Hayashi sensei asked me to add this one. So this shows the economic life cycle of Asian countries. Actually, they are very diverse. You can actually see the Maldives. It's like Japan. But if you look at Korea, it's very high in, for education consumption, but flat on the elderly part, right? So it's very different from Japan. If actually Korea had looked like Japan, it would have had a serious problem. So they actually thought about having like a US system, but no way because the population is so rapid. So this is just Asian countries. So sometimes just providing some comparative graph actually shows some interesting policy implications. And here is another example. This shows the time use gap, which is defined as the female minus male time use in India in 2019. So this demonstrates a substantial gender gap of home production versus market production. So Gretchen Donauer can actually explain a lot better than I do. But if you look this kind of a UFO, look like a UFO disk, right? And the policy implication is, you have to squeeze this disk over time, especially if fertility declines. So when I showed this graph, everybody just got, oh yeah, in India, this is substantial. So in the next round, 10 years later, it will be squeezed. And many people doubt because this requires, that kind of thing requires gender equity. If there is no gender equity at home or work, then probably women will double burden, right? So they will have to work more in the market and also at home. So again, instead of explaining NTA, I bring some figures. So the policy implication was quite clear when the figure was presented to a high-level, meeting workshop in India, which is 10 days ago. So as such, NTA research has been in line with these policy implications, but people also want to know by topic, right? So what kind of topics people investigated. So by topic, a lot of NTA research has been on demographic dividend studies still. So, you already heard that during the demographic transition, there are many opportunities like first dividend, second dividend, and as fertility declines, women are more likely to participate in the labor market, which facilitates gender dividend. And if people are living longer and healthier, also it can lead to the silver dividend. Of course, some people don't like this terminology, but many people actually create this kind of a concept. So, especially countries in transition, so that means like African countries or countries with, still having, enjoying their first demographic dividend, likes this kind of research. So this is there are a lot actually research which is still focused on the demographic dividend. Research on fiscal sustainability is very common, especially among advanced economies where social welfare is more generous, right? So the figure shows that older people receive more government benefits than they pay to government via taxes. So also Andy and I used this NTA data to kind of project the impact of aging on debt. We call it like a new debt versus a legacy debt. And then another popular research is estimating or constructing NTA by socioeconomic status. So which actually shows dramatic differences between average versus like top versus bottom. So on the left-hand side, you see that the asset-based reallocation accounts for 50% in the U.S. While if you look at the right-hand side, while the bottom 90%, the public transfers are more important to support the system for the elderly. Actually, I cited it from Nicole and Tim Miller, but I believe this is constructed by Gretchen Donauer. So you can, so actually I showed this one to India government, and I asked how the India will look like. It will look like US, or even the poor people do not have any social protection. So, right? So actually it's like a US. I did it for Korea. Korea looks like this. But for countries who do not have a social protection system, this will look very, very different. Especially actually the rich people benefit more from public transfers in India, if you calculate this. So that kind of thing actually provide, some implication. Because they didn't say that India will look like the US, no one. So by methodology, especially recently, NTA data has been used together with other micro and macro simulations. So Fukuda sensei already actually showed this one in one page, right? So for example, if you look at the left-hand side, that's so social budget model by International Labor Organization has been used to assess the Thai social security system. So you probably know that these people who did that. And also, several researchers have used the NTA to examine public transfers by micro simulation. So that's on the right-hand side. So it's been used for micro and macro simulations as well. And another example, in terms of methodology, is that NTA overlapping generation model. So, for example, our European researchers like Miguel Sanchez Romero or Alexia Pruskavec, they actually used this approach to study many things, including like a shock. What's the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on economy? So, in terms of methodology, there are development of methodology and frontiers of methodology. So we haven't used all this methodology to using other countries' data. Actually, Thai we did, right? So, a little bit. But people have also pointed out difficulties, right? And many developing economies do not have quality data sets. That's number one. And it's difficult to estimate. And inconsistency between producers of NTA versus users of NTA, especially in developing economies. So some people argue that they want to see more NTA evidence-based policies. It's sort of actually question in the morning, right? So what are the evidences? So those are the issues, or those are the room for improvement. However, NTA have been widely used by many governments, actually. So during the lunchtime, we talked about this, right? So the West African established the so-called demographic dividend national observatories. So academic and government partnerships formed to estimate and analyze NTA and to monitor the evaluate national efforts. And especially Senegal is very famous for this national policy declaration. And there are many intergenerational reports. And as many of you know, that Korea government made it official statistics. So in Korea, the Korea Statistics Bureau have to construct NTA every year. like inflation, like GDP. So, I mean, I don't have time to explain it, but it took us 5 years. One of the motivation, of course, the main motivation is that I didn't want to construct it. I just want to use it. Right? Because I didn't want to spend time to construct it every year. So I wished someone actually construct it. But you know, Statistics Korea is very picky about data precision, consistency over time. So what I used is similar to persuading UNFPA. So one is, Korea is aging so rapidly, so you need some kind of data, and there is no data which link population and demography. And the second one is, this is a life cycle approach. So it's a great policy advocate. So it's like a lifelong education. You cannot just teach, you cannot just say that to protect all the people now. It should be started from age 5 or age 2. Education, everything, right? Health. So many people actually think that this is a great advocate, life cycle approach. So social welfare over your life cycle, which is sustainable, was kind of a slogan that we used. So after dozens of meetings, they are persuaded. Why? In part because it's need. So their needs actually, yes, okay, they needed it more than what they say standards of statistics, like precision or the consistency. And also Colombia followed. Actually, the most difficult thing is was there any other country who made these official statistics? So my answer was, we'll be the first. So that's actually great advantage, right? So that other countries can follow. And there are many actually situational analysis for government policy reports, but actually, the main thing is we just don't know who are using it. So this is, actually I found out it a month ago. So National Assembly Budget Office of South Korea has been using the NTA for many years. But they didn't cite Andy Mason, Gretchen, or me, or Nicole, no one. So and this report is not, you cannot search Google Scholar. But this was great. I actually felt great. Why? Because they are thinking NTA like GDP. You don't have to cite anymore. So ironically, that's actually what you wanted eventually. But still, it suggests that many people just want to use NTA, but they don't want to construct them, right? So 2 more slides, yes. And also, in fact, many governments have been using NTA data, which is not cited, which is not written. So we compared, with the Maldives team, we compared their NTA of 2016 with 2019. And you can, this is just health consumption. And their health consumption for ages 45 and over increased 18% per annum. Real term between this short period of time. So the government initiated the investigation of why. Of course, their healthcare system is so generous, but also these people who are ages 45 and older having more spread of non-communicative disease, like especially obesity problems. So they started, so you don't have to actually say that this is NTA. Just to show some graph, and they ask, well, you got this graph? And I say, and then we don't need a full NTA, just a part of it, right? Which may provide implications. So last slide. So the question is, will NTA keep growing? My answer is yes. I should say yes, actually, but the stakes of population aging are very large, and the fiscal sustainability, generational equity, growth, and economic security for elderly, and complex systems are involved. So we need some kind of data which link, the best data which link population and the economy, which is NTA, right? And of course, there are some issues, right? So how to solve the inconsistency between producers versus the users of NTA? So do we need to institutionalize the NTA like Korea? I mean, I have my personal reason, but, but yes, my answer is actually in many cases, in part yes, but still you need to have, I mean, we need to have support and educate staff members and trainers. Most of all, in some cases, I worry about whether the users and the producers of data collaborate each other. So the collaboration is very important. I myself actually talk to Statistics Korea every time and have a meeting. So, you know, and check the consistency. So that concludes my presentation, and thank you very much. ありがとうございます。